You're told anti-Zionism is political, anti-Muslim hate is cultural, yet the two feed each other, poisoning minds on both sides. When criticism of Israel veers into demonization of Muslims and Muslim solidarity morphs into blanket hatred for Jews, entire communities become collateral damage. Tonight, we crack open the mirror of prejudice, how ancient suspicions fuel modern conflict, and why your outrage may be reinforcing the very bigotry you claim to oppose. I'm Fakir Al-Kamosh. In this series, we'll confront the tangled roots of anti-Zionism and Islamophobia, from colonial cartoons to social media attacks, examining how both serve as weapons in power struggles. Brace yourself. The truth cuts deeper than slogans. Blood libel and dimitude, centuries-old myths painted Jews as child killers, Islamic jurists codified non-Muslims as second-class, dhimma. Both narratives entrenched an us versus them mindset, Jews mislabeled as conspirators, Muslims as permanent outsiders. These tropes survived crusades and caliphates underpinning modern hate. Colonial divide and rule, British mandate, tactics. In Palestine, British policies fostered Jewish immigration while curbing Arab political rights, fanning resentment on both sides. Divide-and-conquer strategies implanted the notion that coexistence meant dominance of one group, cementing rivalry into legal frameworks. When historic grievances mutate into modern ideologies, who writes the first chapter, the oppressor or the oppressed? If holy texts are read through lenses of contempt, devotion turns to dogma and solidarity to sectarianism. Our task: unweave the inherited fabric of othering before it strangles any hope of justice. After World War II, two movements exploded. One decried a Jewish state as colonial, the other painted Muslims as perpetual threats. Yet their narratives often mirror each other. Conspiracies of global domination, allegations of cultural incompatibility, demands to delegitimize entire peoples. Tonight, we unmask how both ideologies borrow the same playbook of fear, only swapping target identities. Post-1948, anti-Zionism, from colonial critique to collective banishment. Initial opposition to Zionism framed itself as anti-colonial solidarity, but rhetoric escalated into demands that all Jews, regardless of politics, bear guilt for state actions. Phrases like Judaize Palestine morphed into calls to expel or boycott Jewish individuals and institutions worldwide. Transnational networks, Arab nationalist parties, Cold War actors, and radical left groups formed alliances, spreading anti-Zionist propaganda in Europe and the Americas. Academic journals and student unions became battlegrounds, conflating Israeli policy with Jewish identity. Late-century Islamophobia, from clash of civilizations to cultural apartheid. Samuel Huntington's thesis gave academic cover to fears that Muslim immigration threatened Western values. Media outlets amplified isolated incidents, terror attacks, honor crimes, to stitch a narrative of an incompatible faith. Policy as prejudice. Post-9/11 security laws targeted Muslims under anti-extremism banners. Bans on headscarves, mosque surveillance, and travel restrictions institutionalized suspicion, making Islam itself synonymous with danger. Shared tactics of dehumanization, stereotype, amplification. Both ideologies rely on repeating simplistic tropes. Zionists control the media versus Muslims impose Sharia. These soundbites bypass nuance, embedding reflexive distrust in public consciousness. Scapegoating minorities. When economic or social anxieties spike, Jews and Muslims alike become convenient scapegoats. Politicians and demagogues stoke outrage over foreign interests, deflecting attention from real inequalities. If two opposite hatreds share the same strategies, what does that reveal about our collective psyche? Are we critiquing policies or projecting internal fears onto an other? True justice demands dismantling the mirror of bigotry, not polishing its surface under the guise of ideology. Criticism of Israel often spills into hatred of Jews. Fear of radical Islam slides into contempt for all Muslims. In these murky waters, nuance drowns. Tonight, we expose flashpoints where legitimate political dissent morphs into indiscriminate bigotry, and ask, how can one challenge power without demonizing an entire faith or ethnicity? From Gaza to Goyim political boycotts versus ethnic bans, calls to boycott Israeli goods, intended to pressure policy, sometimes merge with demands to exclude Jewish businesses or individuals entirely. Student protests chant, "From the river to the sea," a slogan ambiguous enough to sound like a call to expel Jews, not just critique borders. Social media. Spillover. Activists posting on Palestinian solidarity pages often repost conspiratorial memes. Zionist lobby controls U.S. politics that echo age-old anti-Semitic tropes. The boundary between criticizing state actions and painting Jews as a monolithic enemy collapses. When fear vilifies faith security theater and mosque raids, in Europe and the U.S., counterterrorism measures target Muslim communities indiscriminately. Raids on mosques based on anonymous tips, profiling at airports. What begins as vigilance against extremists becomes collective suspicion. All Muslims are suspect. Cultural erasure, school bans on hijab or halal lunches, justified as integration measures, signal that Muslim identity itself is a threat. These policies, marketed as neutral, stigmatize everyday religious practice. Shared victimhood and shared danger. Collateral victims. A Jewish family in Brooklyn faces vandalism when unrest erupts in Gaza. A Muslim business owner in London is doxxed after a terror attack in Syria. Both become targets for actions they neither condone nor control. Cross-community solidarity. In rare moments, Jewish and Muslim groups unite against hate, joint vigils after synagogue shooting or mosque arson. These alliances reveal that both communities share vulnerability and the same risks when bigotry goes unchecked. The peril of collective guilt. Blaming an entire group for the policies of some is a shortcut that abandons moral responsibility. When we accuse the Jews or the Muslims, we abandon critical thought and embrace tribalism. True justice demands we see individuals, not caricatures. In today's 24/7 news cycle, every headline is a spark, and every spin is kindling. Politicians use fear of the other to win votes. Pundits trade in outrage metrics. Algorithms feed you ever more extreme takes. Tonight, we dissect how media and power brokers fan anti-Zionist and anti-Muslim flames, turning nuanced debate into a digital lynch mob. Headlines as weapons clickbait conflict. A TV chyron reads, Muslim threat grows in Europe, while another screams, Zionist plot to control the UN. Such grabs reduce complex geopolitics to tribal fear. Viewers consume bite-size outrage. By the next scroll, they've forgotten facts, but the emotional scar remains. Selective outrage. Politicians condemn criticism of Israel as hate speech, while ignoring actual violence in Gaza. Conversely, they decry Muslim protesters as extremists, yet celebrate far-right rallies as patriotic. This double standard entrenches bias under the guise of moral consistency. Opinion over evidence, pundits as preachers. Talk show hosts frame every crisis through religious lens. They hate us for our freedoms, or they deny our right to exist. Facts become footnotes to fiery sermons. When airtime favors rhetoric over research, audiences learn to feel before they think. Data distortion. Graphs show spikes in anti-Semitic incidents next to Muslim population growth, implying causation. Yet these visuals omit context, socio-economic factors, political triggers, turning charts into weapons of narrative, not tools of understanding. Algorithmic amplification filter. Bubbles. Social platforms track your clicks. Watch one anti-Zionist video and your feed floods with conspiracy memes. Like a single Islamophobic tweet, and you're served threads declaring Sharia takeover. Algorithms reward engagement, so they keep feeding the fire. Echo chambers, closed groups on WhatsApp or Facebook copy viral hate memes into private chats. When messages bounce back and forth, skepticism fades. The group's consensus becomes truth. Inside these bubbles, peace is betrayal, and any dissent is exiled. Political profit in prejudice. Populist playbook. Leaders rally their base by naming an enemy. We will stand with Israelis, or we must protect our nation from Muslim mobs. Blaming external others distracts from domestic failures, jobs lost, schools crumbling. Hatred becomes political currency. Token tolerance. A law banning mosque construction is passed alongside a town hall praising Jewish history. The contradiction is lost in press releases, but the message is clear. Prejudice wrapped in gestures of tolerance finds bipartisan support. The mirror of manipulation. When outrage is engineered, are we reacting or being reacted to? True solidarity demands awareness of these forces. If every strong emotion is provoked by an invisible thumb on the scale, how can we claim moral high ground? Justice begins when we refuse the scripted fear and listen instead to unheard voices. When the media fuels division, a handful of courageous souls dare to build bridges. In cities from New York to London, joint Jewish-Muslim initiatives confront anti-Zionism and Islamophobia together, risking backlash from both sides. Tonight, we spotlight those alliances, asking, can genuine solidarity uproot the toxic narratives before they suffocate our shared future? Interfaith rapid response teams, on-the-ground support. After synagogue vandalism or mosque arson, volunteers from both communities arrive at dawn, painting over swastikas, replacing broken windows, delivering hot meals. Their shared effort sends an unambiguous message. Attack one, you attack us all. Shared vigil protocols. Teams coordinate silent vigils, holding candles outside sacred spaces, reading passages from Torah and Quran in tandem. Social media posts tag both communities, creating viral solidarity hashtags like #stand together, #. Joint advocacy campaigns, policy lobbying. Jewish and Muslim groups unite to lobby legislatures, combating laws that stigmatize either faith. In Washington, coalition letters helped defeat travel bans targeting predominantly Muslim countries, invoking Holocaust-era immigration bans as chilling parallels. Education initiatives. School programs bring Jewish and Muslim youth together, teaching each other's histories, combating stereotypes through shared projects. Students co-author presentations on genocide prevention, linking past Jewish suffering with contemporary Muslim persecution. Cultural collaborations, art exhibits and performances. Galleries host joint shows, Muslim calligraphy alongside Jewish paper-cut art, spoken-word nights alternating Hebrew and Arabic poems. These events disrupt echo chambers, inviting audiences to experience the other not as enemy, but as creative kin. Culinary diplomacy. Pop-up dinners fuse kosher and halal cuisines. Chefs collaborate on shared menus, telling stories of common heritage in Middle Eastern spices. Breaking bread becomes a ritual of mutual recognition. Risks and backlash. Threats from extremists. Participants face online harassment, graffiti on interfaith centers, even death threats. Some synagogues and mosques withdraw support, citing security concerns. Yet each act of intimidation only fortifies the resolve of bridge builders. Accusations of betrayal. Hardliners label allies as sellouts, accusing them of diluting their own faith. Defying these smears, interfaith activists reclaim their identities. Our compassion transcends, not compromises, our convictions. Solidarity as self-defense. In a world obsessed with who to blame, true security lies in standing together. When we see the stranger's fear as our own, hatred loses its grip. Solidarity demands vulnerability, the courage to risk criticism to affirm our shared humanity. When you share a hashtag, are you uniting hearts or fanning the flames of hate? In our wired world, apps and algorithms can either amplify Jewish-Muslim bonds or turn alliances into viral targets. Tonight, we enter the digital trenches, exposing how social media, encryption, and AI shape our solidarity, for better or for worse. Hashtag hubs versus hate storms. Stand Together campaigns, coordinated social media blasts, simultaneous tweets, Instagram stories, TikTok clips, ignite momentary spikes in solidarity. Yet once the trend fades, the same feeds recycle tribal slurs. Hashtags become fragile bridges, built in hours and torn down in minutes by trolling bots. Algorithmic echoes. Platforms prioritize engagement. A post celebrating interfaith unity may languish unseen, while militant memes and fear-mongering clips explode in views. The algorithm rewards outrage, not empathy, turning genuine solidarity into digital ghost towns. Encrypted organizing private groups and signal chats. Jewish and Muslim activists use encrypted apps, Signal, Proton Mail, to coordinate town hall events or joint petitions. These hidden networks resist surveillance but remain small. The very secrecy that protects them also isolates them from the wider community, making their impact uneven. Leaks and doxing. When groups slip up, sharing meeting details or membership lists, the data can be exposed, leading to online harassment or physical threats. Digital solidarity requires constant vigilance. The risk of public shaming looms with every forwarded screenshot. AI-driven moderation content filters, automated systems flag hate speech, but often lack the nuance to distinguish anti-Zionist critique from anti-Semitic slurs or legitimate security concerns from Islamophobic vitriol. Overzealous takedowns can remove interfaith content mistakenly tagged as extremist, silencing the very voices building bridges. Deepfake dangers. AI-generated videos can depict Jewish and Muslim leaders spouting incendiary rhetoric, seeding mistrust and driving wedges. Even after debunking, doubts linger. If you can't trust your eyes, how can communities trust each other? Digital solidarity tools, collaborative platforms, websites like faiths4peace.org offer shared calendars, resource libraries, and joint action toolkits, enabling activists to co-host webinars or draft unified statements. When designed with open-source code and multilingual support, these hubs can outpace siloed social feeds. Virtual reality dialogues. Pilot VR programs bring youth from Tel Aviv and Ramallah into the same virtual room, walking through a simulated neighborhood, sharing personal stories. Immersive empathy can punch through digital apathy, forging connections that text alone cannot sustain. Code as covenant or cage? Technology reflects the values of its users. If our apps mirror suspicion, they bind us in loops of hate. But if we code with compassion, open protocols, transparent moderation, empowerment of marginalized voices, digital tools can become the new minbar, a platform where diverse hearts speak and listen as equals. When a sheikh tweets, his words ripple across continents in seconds. But in the digital agora, authority is challenged, sound bites outrun scholarship, and hashtags become virtual pulpits. Tonight, we expose how traditional leaders struggle, or thrive, in online battlegrounds, and ask, can genuine religious guidance survive the viral outrage machine? YouTube, fatwa battles, celebrity sheikhs versus bloggers. On one side, established ulama record-polished lectures, 30-minute sermons weaving Quranic exegesis and hadith. On the other, charismatic vloggers drop 5-minute rants, laced with memes and street slang, condemning Zionism or Islamophobia with raw passion. Views favor the latter. Nuance loses to novelty. Comment section crusades. Beneath every video, tribes form. Pro-Israel commenters clash with pro-Palestine voices, Muslim viewers defend imams, Jewish viewers decry bias. Scholars plead for decorum, but hate speech spreads unchecked in the threads, turning viewers into combatants. Twitter tribunals, 140-character verdicts. A single tweet, supporting Palestine isn't hate, it's justice, can spark retweet armies and counter-accusations of anti-Semitism. Sheikhs attempt reasoned threads, but hashtags like number Jews are not allies or number Muslim lives matter hijack the discourse, reducing complex theology to viral slogans. Cancel culture's caliphate. When a cleric's past remark surfaces, calling Zionists occupiers, Twitter courts him for hate speech. His apologies trend less than the outrage. Fear of digital exile pushes many ulama into silence or self-censorship. Platform power plays, monetization versus mission. YouTube demonetizes content flagged for political content, cutting revenue for sheikhs tackling Israel-Palestine. Meanwhile, conspiracy-laden channels thrive on ad-driven clicks. The marketplace rewards sensationalism, leaving sincere scholarship bankrupt. Algorithmic endorsements. Platforms recommend videos based on watch time. A user watching a harsh anti-Zionist rant will be fed more extreme content, often veering into Islamophobic conspiracy. Neutral sermons vanish in the recommendation void. Authority in the age of outrage. If religious authority depends on calm reflection, can it survive in an ecosystem designed for anger? When every ounce of nuance is crushed by the compulsion to post first and most loudly, the faithful risk substituting retweets for real conviction and swap sincerity for spectacle. We've seen hatred echo across centuries and scrolls. We've watched screens amplify fear into fury. Now, at the edge of despair, the Ummah faces a choice: double down on division or risk real engagement, listening, confessing mistakes, and acknowledging shared grief. Tonight, we map the fragile path from outrage to understanding and ask, can humility become our greatest act of resistance? Confession over condemnation. Owning the past. Both Jews and Muslims must confront uncomfortable histories, pogroms, dhimmi laws, forced conversions, modern expulsions. True solidarity begins when communities admit complicity and name each wound, rather than pointing fingers across the divide. Spaces for safe conversation, structured dialogue models, small group formats, truth circles, bring equal numbers of Jewish and Muslim participants together under trained facilitators. Agreements. No preaching, no lectures, only questions and personal stories. These surprise many. Listening heals in ways arguments never can. Crafting a new narrative, joint storytelling projects, podcasts and zines co-authored by both communities reclaim narratives from extremist tropes. Sharing origin myths side by side in Hebrew and Arabic reveals striking parallels of exile, and hope, reframing the other as neighbor. Fear's final act. Hatred demands certainty. Dialogue demands doubt. If we cannot hold both our convictions and our questions, we surrender to the logic of the mob. Real courage lies not in silencing doubt, but in inviting it into holy conversation. My friends, the loudest voices will always belong to those who profit from our division. But the quiet work of confession, listening, and shared storytelling can build bridges that last longer than outrage. If you carry one message from this series, let it be this: humility is not defeat. It is the greatest act of faith we can offer for our shared future.